So we wrapped up Wright, Patman, and didn't really go that well for me, to be totally honest. At least day 1 and 2. Day 1, my plan, was to stay around where actually I was camping. I had a really big fish there. Had a couple fish real quick, just fishing from the shore of all things. And so I went over there, and the water had dropped about a foot or so, which I should have adapted. And I went and hit around the area, and I was able to pull out like 9 pounds, and I had to bust out the old spinning rod. So my theory was like, well, where these fish have to pull off, and they should be right there, which turns out that, that was right, but I just don't think there was that many fish right there. Or, it was just one of those tournaments where I just had, the first 2 days, I had a lot of just weird little issues, and sometimes it's just not your time. I spent a whole lot of time doing this. Is he? Nope, 13. You'll see. But anyway, on the end of day 2, right? So another thing, I'm not used to, I don't like fishing around a lot of people. And inevitably in these tournaments, you are, and it's kind of got to me a little bit, and I got to get over that. And I think I'm on that road to being able to fish around people, especially in a place like that where, it was just, we were fishing on top of each other. If you go to certain places, like one of the places I found in practice, there was a lot of people in there, so I kind of left it alone. Into day 2, I went over there, literally had, 30 minutes left to fish, and go in there and get 3 fish right off the bat. I figured if I'm going to go fish around a bunch of people, I want to do something a little different. I might do the same general tactic, which we can get into that later, but I'm going to do it a little bit different. Because I like to do things different, hence the name of the channel, like, master or whatnot, I'm looking outside the box. So I did that within, 15, 20 minutes, had 3 fish. So go in the weigh in, and it's nothing, I only had 3 fish. Because at the beginning of the day, which I didn't save back up, which you won't see a video of, because there's another thing. I had a formatting issue on my SD cards, so a lot of this stuff didn't even get filmed. But I ran away from people and tried to figure out, I had some in practice over somewhere else, and that just didn't work. So then I ran back, and finally at the end of the day, I was like, hey man, I'm not going to go in there with no fish. So I'm going into this spot where there's people. I'll go behind them. Yeah, I'm not going to get in front of them. I'm not going to do that. It's not the type of person I am. But I'll just go behind people, and I'm just going to do something a little different. And got the 3 fish. Going in there, I don't even know, it's like 6 even, so I'm like way out of it. It's the 3rd day. I was just like, this is the first time I've ever done this. I picked one rod, the one rod that I caught those 3 real quick off of, and I set it on the front deck, and I went out on day 3. And I got some footage of that. Well, you'll see it here in a second. Go out there and just flip and pitch. Now, my weight on day 3 was, wasn't spectacular, but it was what I needed. That's what I expected to get. That's how I expected to perform 3 days, and that would have got me, a check or whatnot. But I actually should have had like a 20-something plus pound bag. Now, I don't know if you could actually see these fish, but I had one right off the bat go in there, and it really solidified my day, what I was doing. Went in there with that one rod, bam. And it wasn't like he wrapped me around like a lot of those guys were saying you get wrapped up in the bush and they wouldn't be able to get him out. Well, I had my broomstick out and my California Delta style freaking tackle, and I was ripping them out of there. It didn't even matter. 4-pounders, I was just getting them out. This one was a little bit bigger than that. It's probably like a sixer, maybe a little bit. But I pulled him out. I got him out of the bush, and you know, he was almost like kind of not tail walking because he's that big. You know, he put a softball in his mouth, but pull him out and he just pops off. I don't know what it was because every other fish was just super pegged, and I'll show you that what I was doing there. But I lost a couple, like one other good one. But then every other fish I had them hooked good, and I was able to rip them out. And the only thing that kept me from having that mega bag was those two fish. And then also I had a dead fish, which, you know, I know that sounds bad, and it is bad because I pride myself on taking care of the resource, and I tried to nurse her back, but she just got it bad, and it didn't look that bad to me. So I put some, you know, some stuff, live well treatment in there, and just kind of, I actually isolated that fish just to make sure she wasn't stressed out and didn't have, you know, all the ammonia buildup that you get even if you run, you know, even if you run the manual circulator or the aerator, but just to make sure. But it just didn't work out. I think it was a post-spawn fish, and sometimes they're kind of, you know, they're already kind of beat up. But anyway, what I was doing, so, you know, I kind of feel bad about that, and I do, and I hope that I don't want to waste any fish, and I want to make sure that those fish are there for everybody to be able to catch. So that bummed me out when that happened, when I looked back in the live well halfway through the day, and it kind of bummed me out mentally, which I shouldn't let it in a tournament situation, but it did, because I pride myself. I mean, I love fishing. I've loved it for my entire life, and I don't want to just kill fish willy-nilly. And it's even hard for me to keep fish sometimes. I eat a couple here and there, not bass that big. You know, you keep little ones, just, you know, it's for health reasons too, and for the fishery's health, you know, itself. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But this is what I was actually doing. So it's going behind people. I even had people comment on the third day. They're like, "Oh, that's not fair," you know. They'd say, because I was going behind them, and of course I'd wait, you know, I'm not like right on. They'd be on the other side. And this was it right here. So this is a Tokyo rig. And the Tokyo rig, well, I want to do a video on it a little bit more. And a Sanshui, or whatever, however you pronounce in Japanese, a salamander. I call it the sashimi because it shimmies like you would not believe on the Tokyo rig. I mean, I was pulling this thing over, and it just like rocks. And this spade tail, I think, is really key on that, because you'd see that spade tail just kind of flip and flop. And man, when they'd get it, they'd either get it and then they actually crumple this up. So I'm actually going to start designing a better Tokyo rig for big fish, you know, because what would happen on this is they end up bending this around. But this is not a bad thing if you're in grass, because this actually pulls that bait in there, but it just get all bent up and eventually gets weak. But they would absolutely just smoke it. So they'd grab it and then run if you were like picking a backlash or something up, for God forbid, or you'd get them on there. And then I just go hammer down on them and rip them out. But I ended up the day 16 something with a 1 pound penalty, and then I should have been well over 20. But anyway, that's what I was doing. I was flipping this, and then if you're curious on, like, because a lot of guys I know, they have big tackle, they have big stuff, but I actually took out an old swim bait rod to do this, because I knew that was a jungle in there, you know. And just regular flipping tackle, yeah, you could get it done, but it's a little sketchy. I didn't want to have sketchy on the third day. So here's my 7.9 heavy power St. Croix. It's an old school St. Croix Legend tournament, and it's a swim bait version. So you look up this, it's a broomstick, man. It is a broomstick, 50-pound braid. And this is crazy, but it's just a 14-pound leader, just a small fluorocarbon leader. And the reason I did that is because there's some wind, right? And you're thinking that's pretty crazy, but it actually helped the action of the bait a little bit, but there was also wind, so that's why I had a fluorocarbon leader. And the water was clearing a little bit. It wasn't that clear, but it was about, I don't know, 2 to 4 inches. And I just feel more confident with that fluorocarbon leader. But it also helped with the wind. You know, wind blows your braid around. Well, the fluorocarbon being a little more rigid would help, you know, you be able to make those flips into that cover and get to where other people weren't. Helps it, you know, around the wood, because the fluorocarbon being that stiffer line will get in, you know, will allow your bait to get in the wood with a lighter weight, where sometimes the braid actually, with the wind or just flapping around, it actually gets in some of the old bark and gets you stuck. So that's what I was doing. But anyway, here's some of the footage. Like, subscribe. I'm going to be doing some more videos. We'll probably go in depth on that flipping route, because I was literally around boats all day on day 3, and I was getting fish like you would not believe. And like I said, I had a chance on a mega bag, 20 plus a bag, and it just, you know, that was execution of my fault, but I had it. And it was all around probably 30, you know, 20, 30 boats that were rotating in and out of there. And there was a couple top 10 guys, so I just kind of, I stayed away from them, because they're on a check. And then there was another guy that was like on the cut of getting a check, so I just kind of asked him, you know, if it's cool. And he's like, well, I kind of wanted to go around that. I was like, hey, no problem, I'm out. You know, you do you, because you're right there. It's very rare, or, you know, it's like good when you get on that check line or up there. Hey man, if you can get someone to help you out, hopefully that karma will come back on me when I'm in that position, because I will be in that position. We're starting to get into summer tournaments, and I am, you know, it's tough getting back in the wheelhouse of the tournament fishing, but it's happening, and I'm feeling better and better every time. And it's, you know, coming out east, you know, it's a little, you know, learning curve for me, but it's getting there. And I know the finishes aren't the greatest if you're following, but I feel like I'm getting something out of every one of these tournaments, and it's a matter of time before the door just swings open, and you're just gonna see me just start wheeling on them. So.
Son.
Throw him out there. We got progressive bottles there. Appreciate it. Up to the scale. Number 44. And we have no credit for Billy, Montana. Put your hands together for Vincent. Nelson. Throw it out there. Get those progressive goodies out there, Vincent.
Get that one. Back. Heads up. Tanner with the hand.
All right, Vincent had 15-12 over 2 days. He's got 5 in the bag today. I need a big bag out of you, Vincent. There's the boom! Hello! The Montana fishermen going to work. A little bit different than fly fishing, isn't it, Vincent?
Just a little bit, just a
All
little
right,
bit.
my man. Put that one in there for me. All right, Vincent did some work today. A big, big bag, folks. Let me hear you right now. 16 pounds, 7 ounces, a 3-day total of 3103. Let's see some of that fish again. There you go, folks. Right, Patman, right there, showing off.